So let's start. I give the floor to Luigi D'Angelo, head of the Emergency Management Unit of the Italian Civil Protection Department, that will chair all the conference.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final conference of Belichi Project. It's a pleasure for us to host this conference. Of course, we would have liked to have you in presence here in Italy, in Belice, in Sicily region, in Poggioreale, as we did a few years ago. But unfortunately, the COVID limitation does not allow. But however, it's a pleasure for us to host this conference, to organize this conference. I'm proud to say that we have 20 different countries connected, 6 Italian regions representatives, 53 from the National Fighting Corps of Italy, UN is on board, and thank you very much, and DG ECHO has 5 representatives. We are almost 100 persons. As I said, we would have liked to have this conference in presence, but probably we wouldn't have been so much. So it's a unique opportunity for us to host the conference as well. We are 117, but I guess we will even increase the numbers. So let's come to the topic of the conference. It's about, as I said, the final conference of Belichi Project. During the project, financed by European Commission, we have been focused on the wide assessment area. The topic is how to approach the assessment in the aftermath of an earthquake. And of course, this has been really challenging. Of course, we refer to the INSARA guidelines, the wide assessment area, and specific focus on the ASR1 of the INSARA guidelines. And we have been exploring that narrow space between the assessment of the first responders, the local authorities, and then the activity and the more robust assessment done by the first INSARA team on the spot. So we have been focusing on that window of opportunity in the aftermath of an earthquake. Of course, the Belichi project has been aimed to define a methodology of assessment, of the wide assessment area, and as well providing training. We have been conducting training in presence, but after COVID, everything has been put in a different dimension, the webinar dimension, and even a sort of virtual tool in order to support our trainer, with the aim to train, to make a train of the trainers. So it has been, of course, a unique opportunity of discussion, of sharing experiences. Even for me, it has been really nice to have a confrontation with some colleagues participating to the project, that even sharing the experience done in Amatrice or in Abruzzo region earthquake. The aftermath of an earthquake is always challenging, and is the let's say one of the main pillar on which to base the an efficient and rapid response. Information management, capacity of exploring the affected territory, and this is what we have been doing during Belichi project. Of course, I would take the opportunity to thank the partners of the consortium, the Italian National Fire Brigades that have been coordinating the project, Timesis that has been supporting us from an administrative and financial point of view, THW, EASC school from the Ministry of the Interior of France, the Department of Civil Protection that we represent. We have been efficiently, as always, and robustly supported by UN OCHA, INSARAC Secretariat. We have here Sebastian, and then after I will give him the floor, and of course by DG ECO. So it has been a really success story. Of course, we get lessons learned, we improve our capacity of respond. We have been following a roadmap that keeps us always together, with just the aim to better perform in case of a real event. So it's a step more that we put in our cooperation, and we are very proud as Italy to contribute to this long way that we are doing together in real emergencies, in exercises, and in projects like this. I think I said everything. I just want to mention another tool that our colleagues Francesco Giordano is covering. We will be focusing and monitoring the chat all the way along this final conference. We will select the questions. We will, let's say, make a sort of classification of the different questions, different topics that you will touch. So I invite you to be very active on the chat, because everything you write will not be wasted, but will be analyzed by Francesco. And at the end of the conference, we will respond to all your inputs. So it's welcome, anything, observation, inputs, questions, everything you like to put on chat. So please be very active on chat, because it will be constantly monitored by Francesco. And then we will provide you with video images that will, let's say, give a flavor of what has been the Belichi project. So I really, let's say, wish you a very interesting and fruitful final conference. We will do our best, of course. I will do my part, but I thank all the team that is here: Paolo Vaccari, Giovanni Bosco, Paola Milano from Timesis. Sorry, Paola, I didn't mention team. No, I did. I mentioned Timesis in the consortium partner. So really, again, welcome. Enjoy the final conference. It's a pleasure for us. And then now I give the floor to Felix Bloch, who is the head of Knowledge Network and Evidence-Based Policy of DG ECO. Sorry, Felix, if we put the wrong headings in the agenda, but I did my best to correct it. Felix, the floor is yours, and really welcome everybody to the final conference of Belichi Project.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's 10 minutes past 10, so this is officially the end of the introductions. But luckily, we're not trains that run on timetables. We're human beings, and it's so nice to see all of you, and so nice to be with you this morning. So thank you for that. It's also so nice to see so many familiar faces here. I saw Stefania Fiore, just to say we miss you in Brussels. You know, we miss you. Anyway, it's good to be with you this morning.
Thank you, Felix.
I also want to say a good morning, of course, on behalf of my friend and colleague Leonor Nieto, who is actually the head of unit for prevention and preparedness. And but it's not only colleagues that get confused sometimes with the setup of ECHO and who does what. Me too. I sometimes lose track of who's doing what. But that is not a problem. We're not in the diplomatic field here. We're all colleagues working for the same goals and very closely together. And so, strictly speaking, it's Unit B2 of DG ECHO that is in charge of the Belichi project. It's one of the prevention and preparedness projects administered by Leo's team. But we're not too strict this morning, and I really think in ECHO and elsewhere we need to move away, from silos and speak less in terms of silos, but more in terms of togetherness, working together, because that's probably one of the lessons that we learn from, at least one of the lessons that we hear all the time. Whether we learn it is another matter, but what we're hearing all the time, that we need to work across silos and work together. So I am, as rightly said, I'm head of unit of the unit that is entitled Knowledge Network. So that's just a few words on that briefly, if you allow me, because the Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network is kind of a new building block of the Union Civil Protection mechanism that we are now developing together with member states, together with the community, if you will. And why is that knowledge network so important? I think is you will all immediately grasp the relevance of this, because again, we need to work together, more together. We need to exchange more, train together, exercise together, learn from each other more across units, across directorates, across departments, countries, to learn from each other across, the whole DRM cycle, and there we need to improve. And I'm so happy that our friends from UN OCHA are joining us this evening, because that's another example of where we need to. And
please
here
mute your mic, please.
Thank you. And this is just one other example where, as DG ECHO, as European Commission, as European Union, we need to really stop being, on our own planets and not look left and right, but work together as in one team. And Sebastian and I and the whole and our teams are really making additional efforts to bring the UCPM and UN OCHA response closer together. So I'm very glad to have them on board as well. But let me say a few words, allow me to say a few words more, because the past year we all experienced that has seen an extraordinary move towards the development and implementation of new technologies across all sectors. I mean, we're seeing that every day. The pandemic has really forced us to stop and re-evaluate how we do things. And this has been the case for civil protection, and especially in the area where I'm responsible for, in the area of training and exercises in ECHO. And just to give you an example, just a couple of weeks ago, we conducted the first ever workshop, virtual of course, on virtual reality and augmented reality and the new learning technologies that we now have at our disposal. And we were very happy that the Belice project was also represented at that conference. And this project is quite visionary. The concept developed some years ago and implemented as a prevention and preparedness project, which was approved, I understand, in 2018, prior to the pandemic, and the current move towards the new technology is very inspiring and shows a very particular vision. I've been told that the virtual environment used in the project is based on Poggio Reale in Sicily. Poggio Reale, we all know, is a very special place. I would say it's almost the second home of EU MODEX. And we have therefore a very special affiliation with Poggio Reale, as we have conducted 2 previous MODEX exercises for USAR teams at this very realistic and very testing location. And I want to acknowledge and thank the Italian Civil Protection Department and the Italian Fire Service for the enormous amount of work and effort undertaken in the past to make this special venue available for the purpose of providing realistic training for our USAR teams, especially in the hugely critical field of wide area assessments. We very much look forward to continuing to support the future development of Poggio Reale as a prominent USAR training venue for MODEX field exercises and for other trainings such as USAR coordination cell training courses. I have no doubt that the positive outcomes achieved from the Belichi project will feature in the future of Poggio Reale and how we continue to train our USAR teams in conducting time-critical, life-saving intervention activities such as assessments, which informs the whole operational and tactical decision-making process. As I have already said, past year has seen many new developments in the world of European civil protection. We are working extremely hard with our MODEX consortia and with member and participating states, developing and implementing 2 new pilot digital tabletop exercises. And I'm glad I also see our friends from THW here. And we will first and very soon conduct the first time 2 virtual remote MODEX medical field exercises. And we recently approved the development of our first MODEX virtual USAR mountain search and rescue exercise, which we are very excited about. What I see at the moment is a huge amount of great work being undertaken, creating many dots in our business. Luckily, we also have the ongoing development, which is moving at pace, of the new technology, of the new knowledge network. The knowledge network, I referred to it earlier, will be the vehicle that will hopefully join all those dots. But it will not do that without your support and your commitment, because joining the dots, bringing together all the positive outcomes of the many, many projects, this project and other projects to inform the user community will be so important. I think this will really be the key purpose of the knowledge network in the future, to really bring together all the outcomes of projects like these, make them accessible to a wider audience, and you know, sustainably capture their results. So I've already been speaking too much. I apologize for that. I want to really thank the organizers and the whole project participants for an excellent job done, and I look forward to following the conference this morning.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you very much, Felix. Thank you for mentioning the cooperation between UN OCHA and UCPM. Thank you for mentioning the knowledge network. It will be the future, and I would say that even if such kind of emergencies like pandemia somehow give us a little of frustration, because we see in front of us something very big. On the other hand, we have to trust in what we have building on since so far. We have to trust because we have a robust system, even if it's somehow fragile, because we have to learn a lot of lessons from what we experience. But I'm sure and I'm convinced, even during this experience of pandemic, that we have built a very robust system, and we have time by time find the appropriate tools to respond to emergencies, but we have to go on this road. Thank you very much, Felix. I really welcome the presence of Fabio Dattilo, which is the Commander-in-Chief, ciao Fabio, of National Fire Brigades. At the end, you will have the floor for a closing remarks. Thank you for joining us, Fabio. It's a pleasure for us to have you here. And now I give the floor to my close friend, Sebastian Rod-Stampa, who is the Chief of Emergency Response Section of UN OCHA. Sebastian, it's a pleasure to see you again and to give you the floor, please.
Luigi, it's always a pleasure to see you, and thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for organizing this. Thanks as well to Felix, and I don't want to eat into Giuseppe or anybody else's time, but I did really quickly want to say a few things. I mean, firstly, the Belice project is a really valuable one, and I think I'd like to thank National Civil Protection, your department, and the National Fire and Rescue Service of Italy for taking such a strong lead on this. OCHA, and particularly INSRAG in this case, remains absolutely committed to supporting EU projects like this, and notably the Belice project, which stands out in advancing life-saving operations in line with INSRAG guidelines and methodology. You know, I participated in the 10-year EU MODEX conference the other day, and one of the interesting things that came out of that is that we learned the lesson time and time again that the closer we work, the better we advance life-saving interventions. And I particularly welcome this. It's relevant to the INSRAG network in that it provides methodology and training framework to perform the initial wide assessment, while the INSRAG guidelines, of course, do not specifically cover this aspect of emergency intervention. And so it's a great example of where we complement each other. I also like the methodology that brings together operational and non-operational actors to be trained on a standard methodology, and then that's mirrored in the manual on ASR1. That makes a huge amount of sense. We will engage from INSRAG and the INSRAG technical working groups, which are there to ensure synergies between best practices in the INSRAG network, which we have in INSRAG guidelines, and other initiatives will engage. We've informed the co-chairs of the guideline review group of the outcomes of the Belice project, and there is now a consultation going on in the network, of which you will be aware, so that this initiative can be introduced at the first responders level. In short, hugely welcome initiative. Thank you so much. It dovetails into what we're doing. It's mutually supportive of the efforts that UN OCHA and INSRAG are engaged and involved in, and it's very welcome. And I wish you the very best of luck, a fruitful conference, and I'm looking forward to seeing the video and understanding a little bit more about how the system works. Back to you, Luigi.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you for highlighting that and for touching the hardcore of the Belice project that complements the activity of INSRAG. We try to merge local authorities first assessment and then INSRAG teams. So we have been exploring that part of the activity, and we think and we thank you that you will give back to the working groups of INSRAG Secretariat let's say the outcome of Belice project. This give a lot of highlight and to the results that we achieved. Thank you very much, Sebastian, for your words. And now I give the floor to Giuseppe Romano. Giuseppe, it's a pleasure to see you, even if it's virtual, but it's a pleasure to see you on the screen. He is the project leader of Belice project and the regional director of National Fire Corps of Tuscany region. Giuseppe, the floor is yours.
Thanks Luigi, and thanks mainly to Felix and Herodes, because the water that they used was very, very warm for us. I leave the connection to the room, the organization room of the conference, because the time is very short and we have more relation. So please, from Civil Protection Department, start with the movie that has a very short time. Thank you. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the online final conference of the Belice project. Belice means building experience to lead initial assessment in challenging emergency. But Belice is also the name of a valley in Sicily, the Belice Valley, and also the name of an earthquake, the Belichi earthquake. In the 1968, Belichi earthquake took place in Sicily in January. The largest shock measured 5.5 on the moment magnitude scale. The maximum perceived intensity was 10 extreme on the Mercalli intensity scale. The earthquake, centered between the towns of Gibellina, Salaparuta, and Poggioreale, killed at least 231 people, about 1,000 injured, and left 100,000 homeless. But also the logo of the Belichi project is connected with the Belice Valley and the Belichi earthquake. The logo of the project reminds the Cretto di Burri, a big land art work of the sculptor Alberto Burri that covers the ruins of old Gibellina in the Belice Valley. The towns hit by the 1968 earthquake, abandoned with the transfer of the population to the new town after the earthquake, is the place for the field exercise of the Belichi project, but the pandemic did not allow. Belice is a project with the support of UN OCHA, INSARAG Secretariat, and Sicily Region Civil Protection Department. The beneficiaries of the project are the National Fire Corps of Italy, the Federal Agency for Technical Relief of Germany, the School of Application Civil Safety from France, Timesis, a firm from Italy that covered the coordination and the dissemination aspects of the project, and the Italian Department of Civil Protection. Plus 75% of co-fin by EU. The dates of the project, initially foreseen for 20 months, started in June 2019 for finish in January 2021. But because COVID, the month was 22, and the end of the project is in the March 2021. That means today. The initial strategy of the project, aiming at drafting and spreading a manual on ASR1 tested in a training program, and train on the manual on ASR1 with the indoor and outdoor field training, through analyzing the state of the art, sharing useful case studies within and outside the EU countries via a board of expert meetings and the international workshop on case studies, involving in the whole circle the target group and end user, like LIMAS, local emergency management authorities, user teams, and disaster managers, towards a step-by-step build-up manual on ASR1, an handbook for trainers on ASR1, a design workshop for training of the trainers, a train the trainers course, and 3 field training courses. But because of COVID, strategy changed. Remain the aiming at remain through analyzing the state of the art, the useful case sharing, and the board of experts and the international workshop on case studies, involving again the targets and the end user, but changed 3 steps towards the design workshop for TOT that was in a hybrid form, in presence and in webinar form, the pilot for TOT course that was only in webinar form, and in place of the 3 courses, we made tutorials, videos, and virtual reality tools. And at the value of all delivered results, the manual, the handbook, and the completed trained materials. And from results have been also delivered videos, tutorial, and virtual reality tools. So thanks for your attention, and please enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe, for your comprehensive PowerPoint presentation. And now I give the floor to Paola Milano from Timesis for presentation and video on Belice products and results. Paola, please.
Good morning to everybody. I'm Paola Milano, Belice Project Technical Coordinator. I just would like to give some information about the video that is going to be delivered in some minutes. How just described from our project technical coordinator, the products of the Belice have been a manual, a handbook, 1 video presenting results, and 4 tutorials plus a virtual reality tool. What you are going to see today is also a demo of this virtual reality, but what is going to be delivered in some second is a video that focuses on what has been the path of the Belice project, which have been its aims, but most of all is focused on the manual content, what were the tools that has been drafted, how they have been connected in the handbook for trainers, and how some of them have been delivered in the videos and tutorials. So now I leave the floor to the video that it will take more or less 7 minutes in order to see the presentation of result and focus on it. The name is Outputs and Results. Thank you.
When a destructive event such as an earthquake occurs, time is of the essence to save the maximum number of people trapped under the rubble. During the first 24 hours, the probability of survival is quite high, while after this period, it decreases very rapidly. If the management of the rescue operations is correct and organized, the response will be coordinated efficient and rapid, resulting in more lives being saved. An earthquake may have an impact on one city or a larger area comprising several cities, or even worse, it may involve a larger area such as a region. It can be extremely difficult for local authorities and first responders to manage and coordinate rescue operations during the early stages after an event occurs due to the overload of requests for help and because they may be directly and personally involved in the event. The Belichi Project has produced a manual directed at local authorities and rescuers to help them be prepared in a response system after an earthquake, with the aim of optimizing the efficiency of rescue operations and reducing the response time as much as possible. The manual introduces as a fundamental element the preparedness phase, in which all information can be collected and structured before the emergency strikes. Therefore, the manual introduces two new ASR phases as a methodology for approaching the WAAP, the Pre-ASR and ASR0, whose aim is to achieve maximum effectiveness of the emergency response. With the aim of facilitating the effectiveness and timing of post-event assessment, it is of paramount importance to make emergency plans that include all the information that will help first responders and rescue teams in the first hours after the event through maps and sectorization that identify, for example, emergency and collection areas and facilities, road network and access routes to the area for rescuers, urban area and its characteristics, relevant structures such as dams, airports or industrial areas and the associated risks, population density at different times of the day, week, season. The manual examines all emergency preparedness activities with practical and concrete examples of measures and methodologies to be adopted in this phase and the results obtained from their preparation. Improving the collection of management of information, pre-planning of local authorities' activities before and after the event, mitigation of barrier effects that can hinder the activities of local authorities and USAR teams. Another phase that the manual examines is the post-event phase and the activities that are part of the wide area assessment phase of the ASR1, already introduced in the USAR guidelines. Tools and methodologies are proposed and described that provide concrete examples of effective implementation measures, such as tools and methodologies for the proper development of an ASR1, sector size methodology, process to sectorize without preparedness, tools to quickly initiate a first plan for damage estimation and initial assessment of the number of teams needed, such as shake maps and alert systems, flight activities to collect details immediately after the event, the use of satellites. The objective of the Belichi project is also the training of the recipients of the manual. For this purpose, a further document called Handbook for Trainers was produced within the project and contains the details of a typical course that can represent what is described in the manual. The Belichi project envisaged the realization of training courses on the themes of the manual. The purpose of one of the courses, called Pilot for Training of Trainers, is the training of personnel who will train operators involved in emergencies. The COVID emergency didn't allow the delivery of the training courses in presence, and therefore the project activities were redesigned. The pilot for training of trainers was delivered in a webinar for the theoretical methods, while a virtual reality video and video tutorials were produced to partially replace the field activity. The preparation of the manual and the handbook is the result of the work of the experts involved in the Belichi project coming from different European countries, France, Germany and Italy, and from different professional experiences, rescuers, national civil protection experts and local authorities, developed both in a national and international context. The documents can be downloaded in digital format from the project website, www.belichiproject.eu, while hard copies were distributed among the technical beneficiaries of the project. Corpo Nazionale dei Vigili del Fuoco, Italy, Technisches Hilfswerk, Germany, École d'application de sécurité civile, France, Dipartimento di Protezione Civile, Italy, while Temesis has contributed to coordination and dissemination activities.
Here we are again. So really interesting this video. Speaking to our friends of the Italian Fire Brigades, Fabio and Giuseppe, I think that we can really take, and having given the regions, we can really take the opportunity to implement this activity in Italy for the first responders, for mayors, for local authorities, translate the manual in Italian and start with a huge webinar, even in the next week. I think that we can make a very good work together, because this is the real initial assessment, and it's always a problem, it's always an issue, because the first responders, the local authorities, have always a really problem in zonizing the affected area, in defining the first real elements. So I think that we can really take a good opportunity to implement this in Italy. So we will do it. Yes, Giuseppe.
Yes, the documents will be in Italian, German, and French very soon, in next days, and ready to in the site of the Belichi project. And the next weeks we start with some training plane, a new plane for training. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Giuseppe. It's a huge opportunity for our local responders and authorities. So I really think that we don't have to lose this opportunity to take on board the Belichi project results. Now I give the floor to our friends Philippe Meres from the École d'application de sécurité civile, Ministère de l'Intérieur, France. And I really thank Philippe for being our mentor in the INSALAG classification. So he's a big friend of Italy. Philippe, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And it was a real pleasure to be the mentor of Italian team. Before beginning the presentation, I just want to thank all the participants of the project, and specifically my colleagues from Italy. You know, as a first responder, it's a real pleasure to learn about the experience of each other. And I have to say that Italia is really experienced in this way of the wide area assessment process. And it will be a real improvement for France to include the result of the project inside our own organization, and to train after that notably not only the first rescuer, but the local authority and the politician around this topic. So let me share my screen and beginning with my presentation. So, as it's mentioned during the So as it's mentioned during the video, we have produced the manual by sharing experience from different origins and specifically from the partner, but during international meeting too with people from outside the project, and it was a really good input for the project. The motivation for the manual is linked to how to deal with the time before arrival of the first responder, and how can we manage the information that is overwhelming all of us during the first hours. And this link to how to know what happened really on the field. And it's the case notably for the large area. What we focus is on preparedness and how to change the curves of the red lines to fulfill the gap of information. So what do you find in the manual? In the manual, the phases that are described in the INSARAG guidelines are totally excellent, and we are all using them during the international operation. And we focus on the manual not only in international operation, but in national operation too. And it's the phase of ISR 1, it's assessment, search and rescue level 1, on which we focus because it's not so described in the INSARAG guidelines. And it's normal because it's something that is in charge of all local authority. But it was needed to improve the capacity of local authority to organize this phase that is essential for the arrival of the first responder and of international operation. For that, we have described in the manual two new specific phases that we call pre-sectorization and ISAR 0, that in fact is the application of the pre-sectorization in front of a scenario. And all these elements are included in the Wide Area Assessment Process, WAAP. This is, in fact, what you will find inside the manual, the pre-ISAR, ISAR 0, and ISAR 1 finally. So, what is, in fact, the pre-sectorization? As you find in this slide, you have pre-ISAR, ISAR 0, ISAR 1, and in the pre-ISAR, it's in fact something on which we will focus, and it's linked to what are the data that we need to create the pre-deployment sectors according to scenarios that are consistent in time and space. When we talk about space, it's and time, it's notably, are we at night or at day? Is it in the summertime? Is it in the winter time? Is it during holidays? So it's not exactly the same management of the population during this different period of the day or period of the year. And space, is it in an urban area? Is it in a rural area? Is it in an industrial part? Is it in a large area? All these elements change the scenario, and it's not only one scenario that have to be deployed, it's several scenarios in which you will choose at the moment of the event and use this pre-sectorization as the first element for the deployment. This is a little scheme that we have developed during the TOT session, and it's a good visualization of a pre-sectorization phase and pre-ISR phase. In all the case, we have to manage with a wide area assessment process at the moment. And we describe in the manual how to do it by using several tools that can be technologic, but some are not technologic, because we know that all the countries don't have all the technology available. So it includes social media, it includes elements coming from natural communication, it includes helicopters assessment, use of drones, use of satellite, use of communication system specifically developed for this kind of assessment. But in all these use of tools, what is important is to be trained on managing this information and include it to have the best decision in the best time possible. After that, when you have the information of what happened in your field, you have to choose what kind of sector you will organize. And we have made a big improvement with Italian team on how to manage an area and what is the size and criteria of a sector. And the manual will explain you how to do it and how to manage after that the size of a sector. That is something very essential after that. In the manual, you will find too how to balance, the resources and the needs in the field, and make what we call the prioritization, because it's not because you have a sector that you will need to make an assessment on it. It's a problem after that of prioritization, and the prioritization should be effective before sending the rescuer on the field. It's why we make a lot of preparedness to have a first prioritization that will change during the ISR1 phase, because we will have the real view of the teams during this specific phase. The deliverable of this ISR 0 and ISR 1 will be a real sectorization of your area with the correct possible INSARAG element to sectorize. But we are not focusing only in INSARAG element. We are focusing on sectorization for the local and national teams too. So the method can be applied for national systems, but for international too. It's only a kind of change of number or sectorization labels, but the technique is the same in all the cases. So thank you again for all the participants of this project. It was a really pleasure to be a part of this adventure, and I'm really happy to be part of that. So thank you again.
Thank you to you, Philippe. Now it's crystal clear that we're trying to fill the gaps in the aftermath of an event in terms of information management and in terms of sectors and zone of the affected area. It's really, really crucial what has been done during Belichi project. It's really, really worthwhile. Now I take 1 minute for Ivan Cohen-Evans, sorry, that will give us a flavor in terms of graphic tools that highlights what we are saying. So, Cohen, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm really, let's say, excited to see what you want to show to us. Please, Cohen. You have mic muted. Please open your mic, Cohen. Okay, now you please speak now.
Okay. This is
yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, this is the first sheet I did about intro by Giuseppe Romano. explain generically where Belice is and what happened that day in 1968, and then a few highlights of the project that finishes today, a few drawings. And after that, I can show you something, what I did during the video of Paola Dano, where I summarized basically of what I understood, that how much it is important to be very quick. So watch the time available in some intervention.
Cohen, please speak louder. Cohen, speak louder, please.
Okay, I'm going to try to
I guess you're trying to share the screen.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better now.
Okay. Okay. So can you see the screen also?
No, unfortunately, no, we cannot see your screen.
Oh, well, I've been, since the beginning, I I try again to, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So did you see the first sheet I showed you?
At the beginning, we saw the instruction you posted.
And that was it. So I'll try to get back to this was the first sheet. Did you see this one?
Yeah.
Yes, Cohen, yes.
Okay. And then we had this one, correct?
Okay.
And then after that, we had this was about the video and the presentation of Philippe Meres, where he talks about the manual and collecting and sharing data. So this is what I have until now.
Thank you very much, Cohen. Thank you very much for following us from your perspective. It's nice. It's like to be in a sort of television show, because sometimes there is someone who makes some pictures like this. Thank you very much. We will come back to you at the end of the conference before the final remarks. And now I'll give the floor to Thank you, Cohen. And now I'll give the floor to Massimiliano Russo, who is a Deputy Chief Fire Officer of National Firefighting Italy.
Thank you, Luigi. Good morning to everybody. Now we are going to watch a clip on 3 tutorials that you can find on Belichi Project website, www.belichiproject.eu. The first one is about on the methodology of wide area assessment. The second one is a useful tool to dimensioning the sector, considering the next phases that the rescue teams will have to carry out on site. And finally, a plugin that makes the sectorization and establishes the priorities, the rescue priorities in an area affected by an earthquake. I kindly ask to Italian Civil Department to send a video. Thank you to everybody. A quick overview on tutorials and plugin in Belichi project. On Belichi project website, you can find a tutorial on the wide area assessment methodology, a tool for dimensioning the sectors, and finally a plugin that performs the sectorization of an affected area to have several useful information for rescuers in a noticeably short time. The first tutorial explains the methodology based on a wide area assessment process. This analysis starts before the event, collecting all information and data available on the area in ASR pre-phase, and it goes after the event to ASR1 through the ASR0 phase, that is characterized from those first few moments after the event where the rescue response is not fully deployed or has been just activated. All data that are available after the event are vital, and they need to be adapted with other all data that was organized before the event with the preparedness. In ASR0 phase, during the early moments after an event, local authorities, first responders, and user teams can start an initial action phase, proceeding to overlay pre-event activities with the first information available post-event. After this phase, it is necessary to complete the analysis with the consolidating phase, a more detailed picture of the situation, overlaying the new data available on the emergency. The pre-crisis phase involves the collection, processing, and analysis on the base map of several parameters such as buildings, strategic buildings, emergency areas, population densities, main characteristics, and the road system. So, as a result, the pre-event framework is a pre-event operational map, where are identified all the relevant information needed to manage the scenario, including pre-sectorization. After the event, the initial action phase, proceeding with the first data available, information from social media, last-minute information, first information from scientific community, such as shake maps and alert systems. The aim of the initial action phase is to understand the situation, to identify the most affected geographic areas and the priority needs, to inform the local emergency management authority and decision makers on the scale and allocation of resources to decide whether the action is needed. Using a seismic damage scale, it is possible to have knowledge about the damaged buildings for each sector and prioritize the rescue efforts according to the damage, optimizing available resourcing and saving as many lives as possible in the shortest possible time. The decision makers in this way could have a global picture of wide area with a priority scale as indication of where to deploy the rescue teams. The consolidating phase will include a systematic analysis pre-post-event data to have a more detailed picture of the situation, including other information from staff on site, flight activities, or satellite use. The second tool answers to this question. which is the right side of a sector to perform a correct assessment and to save as much as possible people under the rubble after an earthquake? Following an earthquake, it is crucial to provide assistance to people under the rubble in the first few hours, because the probability of survival after the first 24 hours is drastically reduced. It is therefore very important to act quickly. But on the other hand, the lesson learned in previous worldwide events have shown that after 6 hours, less than 50% of people buried under the rubble are still alive. Then, in Belice manual, it is established that the rescue operations must begin within 12 hours from the event, and the assessment activities must be completed within 9 hours from the event, considering 6 hours to complete ASR 1 and 3 hours for ASR 2. To find the sector size in terms of number of buildings MB, it's necessary to combine the number of assessment teams involved, 80, the number of buildings assessed per hour, MBA, and the limit time to assess the sector in ASR2 phase, Tmax. In this way, the better size of each sector could be 60 buildings, or 50 considering some other factors like building characteristics, such as construction parameters, age, material types, and population density. The third tool is an useful plugin to build the sectorization of an affected area hit by an earthquake and to choose the right priority for rescue management. These pictures are outputs of the tool. The plugin is based on the open source software QGIS. It needs an internet access to download the data from the OpenStreetMap, a shake map layer, as well as an estimated population data layer. The tool considers different data for the buildings belonging to the created sectors, such as resident population, total number, type of construction, and age, and establishes for them different degrees of priority on a map. As an example, it is possible to show the plugin processing for the recent earthquake in Petrinja, Croatia, last December. It is possible to fix the epicenter and the shake map built with a peak ground acceleration known after the event and the following shaking lines in the picture. The layer is downloaded from the net. Then the plugin creates a new layer, impact area, after choosing the peak ground acceleration value. And now it is ready to make sectorization with different priorities. The tool creates a way lines layer with natural, administrative borders and transport infrastructures, and then divides the impact area into sectors. It contains other layers such as sectors without buildings and sectors with buildings. This last one is useful for the sectorization starting from extreme priority, high priority, medium priority, to low priority. Selecting a single sector by clicking on it a menu about all sectors information will appear. It is possible to select the Google Map link and automatically the tool opens Google Map on your browser, fixing the point in the center of the sector. Then it is useful for navigation tools and for rescue teams deployment. This picture is one from the last earthquake. Thank you for your attention, and do not forget that you can find this material on www.belichiproject.eu.
Thank you, Massimiliano. Really, the plugin is a really powerful tool to cover the gap of the wide assessment area. Very interesting to plug it in the emergency planning at the local level and to provide the Interact teams with this tool once they approach an unknown area affected by an earthquake. Now I give the floor to Luca Padroni. He is Director of Civil Protection of the city of Pisa. Luca, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Luigi. Now what we are going to see is the presentation of the other tutorial that put the pre-sectorization concept into the civil protection planning. So I asked to the ICPD to send the video so to see how this new approach can be embedded into the civil protection planning in an easy way and often with a tool that we already have.
The Belichi Project website is the one regarding the data that can be provided by the local authorities. Local authorities own lots of information regarding the general background and knowledge of a territory, but also lots of information into their own database and registry. One example is the registry of the population that is always available, but most of the time is available into a spreadsheet format and not into a geographical information. Another type of information that is available is the one regarding the age of building. Into the technical office of the municipality are available the information of the building, and is possible in an easy way to make a map representing the age of building. This information is often present, same as the one regarding the registry, but most of the time the municipality is not aware of the power of this information. So what we want to show into the tutorial is how to convert this type of information into something that is useful for the rescuer, especially for the pre-ASR phase. The registry into the spreadsheet format that we just saw is possible to convert and can be converted into a geocoded map. So if the registry is done using the unique value of a road, what is possible in a quite easy way through a GIS software is to put the residents' information into a map, and so to have the physical presence of the population and the density into a map. Having also exactly the building that are present into a territory is also possible to make a sector. So following the average rule of having a sector with 50 building is possible to make a direct definition of the sector following the rule of not crossing road, river, so not crossing administrative or physical elements. And this is an example of a part of the city where this job has been done, representing on the map the number of buildings and also the number of house number as an additional reference. On this information, is possible to add the age of building, so we can see the map with the sector based on the number of building and the age of building. Then we can add to the map the density of population. So the process that we just saw, putting together the residence information into the map, can be overlapped into the map with the pre-sector just highlighted in this example. So the important thing is that starting from data that were available into the municipality, is possible to make a very detailed map of a sector with the highlighted also the age of building and the population. So in this way, we know exactly how the sector is done, and we already know also the density of population and the age of building, so to make for the rescuer a very quick process to define the priority between the different sectors, also based on the time of the day or period of the year. Another important thing to take in care is for the municipality to show and to let this information available to everyone. So we think it's very important to put and share this information into cloud-based platform, so that every rescuer that are approaching on a certain area have the possibility to download and find the basic and most important information. Same on the platform similar to Google Maps or on OpenStreetMap platform that also allows to download and have the information of a certain area into an offline format, always available on a PC. All the info of this tutorial are available on the Belichi Project website. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Luca Padroni. As you can see, I'm not Luigi D'Angelo. Unfortunately, Luigi has been called by our general director. I mean, we still have to deal with a large emergency in this country, like in many others. So sorry for that. I will continue. Again, thanks a lot to Luca to highlight what has also the interconnection with the activity in terms of preparation from the civil protection side. And again, this project is a perfect example of the cooperation of these two words, the civil protection and the technical intervention that mainly are conducted by user teams. Now, I will pass the floor to Peter Goksaray, the last representative of the partners of our project, THW. Peter, are you ready? Take the control.
I'm ready. Thank you. As agreed, could you please put on the PowerPoint in the background? Okay, meanwhile we are waiting for the PowerPoint. My name is Peter Goksaray. I'm working at THW headquarters. I'm a member of the Interact Training Working Group, and THW was responsible for, well, binding the new methodology into finally not only a trainer's handbook, but also into training. Next slide, please. And this we can skip because I did it already. Next slide. Thank you. So, as we all heard, we had a slight problem with something called COVID-19 because the initial idea, and that was the moment that was so unique, that opportunity to have a complete new methodology to involve operational level, decision maker level, and to field test that, yeah, with members from all over Europe and 3 courses. That was the most interesting aspect on that, And we were really working forward, hoping always, yes, COVID will be gone. No, it's not gone. So why was that important? For one reason, because if you go on adult education, I mean, we are not here at school, yeah? We are doing adult education. And in adult education, 75% of the transfer of knowledge is happening by reading and looking at pictures, graphs, and everything. But to get the comprehensive knowledge, yeah, and to put it deep into your memory, you need additionally, well, to hear and to touch. And that would have been the moment so interesting for all of us, yeah, to have all these different work style aspects from the member states integrated in that one-day final exercise, plus having divided courses, yeah, having joint courses for operational and decision makers, and then dividing to become more specific, having more operational items, only operational participants, having more high-level aspects of coordination, of decision-making for the decision makers. Unfortunately, we had to go a different way. Next slide, please. So it's a long and winding road, and I mean, what shall I say? It's the Beatles who did that song, and actually there's also another song of that era, which was sung by Bob Dylan, The Times Are Changing. So we had to accept changes. We had to go a different way and say this training methodology, okay, we do it in a different way. Next slide, please. So we decided to go forward and say, okay, according to the international experience and standards, yeah, in adult education, we are not taking a manual and squeezing it, yeah, and then we put all these items into lessons. That's the wrong way. The point is, yeah, we will do a methodology, but this methodology for the training is different than the manual. The manual should be read before, and then participants go to the training and get this additional knowledge, yeah, that they need to fix it in their memory. So this kit of session was developed where we believe that all the topics were included for both aspects, operational aspects, decision-making aspects. And we really wanted, yeah, to say, well, okay, we field tested, we also do 3 courses we couldn't do. So actually we have to say, well, okay, we did a training of trainers, we did it virtual, and out of that we had to say, okay, now the aspect of localizing all that, yeah, is an aspect we have to hand over to the trainers all over in the European member states, who as experienced trainers shouldn't have a problem with that. Next slide, please. So we have a generic toolbox, which is fit for localization. And this trainer's handbook is having in annexes a lot of material that can be used by the local trainers. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we decided to go into a modular way, yeah, and we said, well, okay, this is a reference, and that reference is done based on the experience we had by our training of trainers course, and we say this now is something we can break down into the handbook, and we can say this is material everybody can use. We do have standardized forms, especially in the annexes, yeah, to give a hand so that the trainers easily can transfer it to their local level, to their demands they have on their own training. Next slide, please. So we give options, and that is the one and the very special new way most of the persons working in civil protection in Europe have, due to COVID, some experience in that. So we said, yes, we are going to go a step further. What we do is we have now this toolkit, and you can do what you need, what you demand. You can do e-learning if you like. You can do just e-learning afternoon if you like. Or you can say, I break it over a period of 3 weeks, yeah, and I do every afternoon 2 sessions. You are totally free to go on. We just give you the guidance by using that material from the training of trainers, giving you master examples of the PowerPoints. And so each trainer now can start to say, well, okay, I want to customize it for my organization or for my country. Now I have to localize. Please, next slide. What we have to have in mind is, and that is really, really important, yeah, the manual. It's a huge manual. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about nearly 200 pages. The participants need to get that in advance before they take part in the training, so that they have the basic impression at all. Because it's quite clear, especially under operationals, you don't learn your job in 1 day. You don't learn it in a week. It is constant learning, lifelong learning. So without reading the manual, it is impossible to go to the training, because the training is based on the fact that the participants have read it, understood the basic keys, and now they get additional input to put all these key issues deep into their memory. And for that, we decided, okay, by using standardized forms actually we also use in the Interrupt Training Working Group, yeah, we will have the opportunity to give the trainer an instrument, yeah, he can play with. And so for each of the sessions, the trainer can see, oh, this is the learning outcome. And he, as a trainer of his country, his organization, knows much better now how to bend and twist all these specific items of the manual into a localized version that he can teach and still is reaching the expected learning outcomes, yeah, to put that knowledge deep into the memory. Next slide, please. So we said, without that, it's not impossible. So we also should give some additional guidance and say, well, this is a good structure, how to structure a session, to make it more interesting, to avoid that people get bored, because it's always the same. Somebody is talking 45 minutes. It should not happen. It should be more interactive. It should be giving opportunities, and we are giving guidance on that. So when you look finally into the training handbook, you will find the opportunity, well, actually, after placing some work into it, to do your special local training, which you need according to your needs. Because if you look into the manual as well as into the training handbook, yeah, we focus on earthquakes, but it's quite easy to take all that, because an assessment is always needed in any disaster, and to transfer it to different disasters. Well, that's it. And everything is downloadable. I hope you enjoy, and actually I would like to get feedback whenever a training is happening. It would be well appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. I mean, Peter already introduced one more challenge that we had in our project, means the fact that we had to readapt the final part of our project due to the pandemics. And because of the fact that we started to be used to challenges, we added one more challenge. And after the workshop that has been mentioned by Felix Bloch at the beginning on virtual reality, we discussed internally, why don't we test also the possibility to use the virtual reality to be a complement of our training methodology. So we will show you now the results in a demo that has been prepared by the University of Siena. a few seconds. It seems that we have some technical problem, but we hope to sort out a solution. Yeah.
The project Belice VR originates from the collaboration among the regional direction of Vigili del Fuoco Toscana and the virtual reality lab of Università degli Studi di Siena. The project involves the design and development of an e-learning experience in virtual reality, to be used in the context of urban search and rescue and local emergency management authority staff training within the Belice project. Belice VR is conceived as a supplementary asset to integrate the program carried out in the Poggio Reale training field, and it aims to provide a light tool for an effective laboratory activity that can minimize the logistic criticalities, which become a major concern in a pandemic situation. As you might know, Belice Manual suggests that the assessment process can be divided into 3 sub-phases. The Pre-Asr Phase, which refers to the planning activities that local authorities should conduct before the emergency. The ASR0 phase, which refers to the initial action phase of the search and rescue assessment process, which starts immediately after the event, and it could also be carried out off-site. The real ASR1 phase, also called the consolidating phase, which aims to provide a more detailed picture of the situation by overlaying the initial action phase results with other information that comes from satellites, drones, and operators on site. Belice VR takes place in this last phase, the consolidating or ASR1 phase. As he enters the experience, the player is provided with a briefing, with general data about the scenario, some information regarding the sector he is in, and the main goal of the mission, overlaying the information coming from ASR0 with findings coming from his field observation. Then, the player is immersed in a urban context of earthquake situation. He can look around, walk or teleport himself into the virtual environment, and he can see damaged goods and buildings. He can also see in the distance the base of operation. Beyond the buildings, the environment is the real Poggio Reale site's landscape, which has been built by mapping a photographic relief on a 360 skybox. "3D arrows show the directions for the base of operation and for a strategic building. By opening up the menu panel, the player can consult the scenario information and the map of the sector he is in. From the menu panel, the player can also decide to enable the visualization of data obtained from the 3 different sub-phases of the assessment process. By selecting the ASR0 layer, information panels with vulnerability class and damage, estimated by using the vulnerability metrics, appear on the buildings. As we told, in the virtual reality experience, the player has to collect useful information to provide a more detailed picture of the real situation, in order to optimize the search and rescue operation that will start soon. The modeled urban area presents many risk situations that the player must identify and interpret. There are local risks for safety and security, real damages, more severe than was expected, factors that increase the urgency criterion and sector priority, like the presence of preschoolers or else the presence of structural continuities with possible risks of domino effect. As foreseen by the procedure, the player has also to check the road network by reporting practicability issues and indicating alternative routes to the strategic buildings. Whenever the player believes he collected enough information, he can leave the experience. An outcome panel will provide feedback on his performance in terms of progress and correctness of his choices. This prototype shows how it is possible to realize an active learning training laboratory with a complete and realistic setting, and to move this set in any place of the world. Even if a VR experience cannot substitute the live training on the field, it ensures, through the immersion and sense of presence, an optimal focus and greater engagement as compared to the training off-field. Also, the use of VR helps to prevent the incidence of emotional factors as a trigger of evaluation errors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope that you appreciated this demo on the virtual reality. It seems to me that there's a huge potentiality on that. However, as been said by the colleagues of the University of Siena, this cannot substitute at all the real training. We hope soon to come back to Poggio Reale and be able to offer our training on site. I personally make an appeal already to the Commission to support us maybe in the future with some dedicated funds for training, not only in Poggio Reale, but training that we can deliver all around of Europe. We have already all the material available, as you can see. There's the methodology, and we're looking forward to have the opportunity very soon to provide the first training around Europe. So that's all on this side. Let me give the floor again to Paola Milano that will sum up about some information related to all the documents available on the project. Paola.
Hello again, good morning. I just would like to leave you some information about where to find the information that we are describing during this conference. How you will see, we have a dedicated website that is www.belichiproject.eu. Inside it, there is a download area where you will find all the documents and all the videos that are going. We are documents and all the videos that are at moment delivering. So you will find the handbook and the manual that has been described by Philippe Meres and Peter Goksaray, but you also will find all the videos that you have seen till now. So the one presenting Belichi output and results, but also the 4 tutorials and the demo in virtual reality. In relation to the demo in virtual reality, just one more information. Before the end of the project, that will be at the end of the month, it will be also available the desktop application, so that it will be not only a demo, but a real tool to be delivered and tested through the desktop application. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Paola. Now we have the last intervention related to the future of, let's say, the after what will happen after the Belice project, and is a short presentation from Giuseppe Romano, the director of the project Belice, that will make together, will summarize what is the activity that has been started a few years ago by the Corpo Nazionale of the Vigili del Fuoco in this field. Giuseppe, I leave you the floor, and then after that we will have also the final closing from the Commander-in-Chief of the National Fire Service of Italy, Fabio Dattilo. Giuseppe.
Okay, thank you very much, Paolo. Thank you very much to Paola too, because I want to say that the work of Paola and the work of Timothy's was very, very important, coordinating together with the National Fire Corps of Italy, the project. Belice is a part of a Troika project. So in a very short clip, I will show you the three projects. Please. Good morning and welcome again. What comes next? The connection between Belice, USAR and Prometheus, three projects of the National Fire Corps of Italy. The National Fire Corps of Italy is coordinator for three projects funded by European Commission. The projects are Belice project, that today is in conclusion, the USAR project, that was the first project that is completed in January 2020, and Prometheus Project that is ongoing, that is the third project that with the end planned in September 2021. The total amount of the three projects is about 2.3 million of euros, and the three projects are connected together. The first project, USAR, targets a specific aspect of USAR assessment named barrier effect during emergency interventions. Barrier effect refers to obstacles that hamper the assessment, such as heavy snow, like in Rigopiano, avalanche, limited escape routes, like in earthquake in the center of Italy, the high level of stress in dealing with the affected population, in many cases, with difficulty in management of data from the sites. The focus on awareness that the barrier effect is a real issue brings to considering barrier effects to plan so as not be entrapped by it during an emergency, covering the current lack of guidelines and procedures aimed to strategic planning and planning activities, improving team performance, or outsourcing some activities, improving communication flow through data management system and new technology. The expected result of the project are increasing efficiency of operation, the documents and outputs of the project ISER. 3 main deliverables have been produced: the Italian standard operating procedures, the international standard operating procedures, and the recommendation. The documents are downloadable from the site of the project. And the main goal of ISER project is reducing the time of intervention on site. The ongoing project after ISER and after Belice is Prometheus Project. Prometheus is a platform, a communication platform between the teams and the operating rooms. The background is a very strong aspect of the Prometheus project. The approach bottom-up, developed with the results of the National Affairs Corps since 2017 to respond to operational needs of user teams, and tested with the Vigili Eco co-founds during the small-scale exercise of ISER project by 3 user assessment teams. The initial Prometheus platform was for the needs of user teams, but the project now think to use the platform in many other scenarios like flood, like CBRN, and like forest fire, like a coordination tool to exchange data between all the actors involved in the rescue operation by net. One more time, the real goal of the Prometheus project is reducing the time of intervention on site. So, what is in the next? We hope in a second chance for a new Belice project to accomplish the field courses cancelled by COVID-19, connecting ISER and Prometheus project with the Belice project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Thanks a lot for your summary of the fil rouge that we have from ISER project to Prometheus, and we all hope there will be also one more step after that, definitely, because we like to have a common project. Before moving to the closing word from the Commander-in-Chief of the Fire Service, I want to ask to our special guest, the graphic illustrator Cohen Evans, that is absolutely out of our world, to summarize what he understood from our previous intervention and on our conclusion of our project. Cohen, you have 2 minutes to summarize your finding or your understanding, let's say.
I see. Sheets.
We can see your sketch.
Okay, so I listened carefully to all the people who talked, and I prepared a few sheets. This is the second part after the first part I showed in the beginning.
Yeah.
And So the first few sketches I made are about tutorials and plugins, where I summarized both in words and little drawings what I understood. And what strikes me the most is that everybody talked a lot about the importance of time and gather information before anything happens in order to be ready when unfortunately something happens and somebody calls for help. Then I go to the other part, the other tutorial, where the local authorities are involved and give information about territory, putting it into a map, and the importance of sharing this information about people, buildings, and everything what's important in a territory for people like you who have to go and help, and the importance of sharing this information and to make it available for everybody. After that, there was Peter who talked. That was about the handbook and the training methodology. The importance, it seems to be a big book, of reading it before starting a training. The sad thing about COVID and not being able to do the training on site, but there's a lot of information I see for doing also virtual and e-learning trainings. And I think this handbook is what it's all about. And then I did something about a future possibility to use virtual reality to simulate a disaster and try to help as a training to be ready for when something happens by briefing about territory, a possible scenario, and then after you took the course to have some feedback. And then finally, the final sheet is about something about the future, what's next, about Belice, which finishes today, and then the other possible projects to be done in the future. It's a summarizing of mainly text, so it's probably not so important for you that I repeat all this. You just listen to it. And this is more or less what I did, Paolo.
Thanks a lot, Cohen. I really appreciate, personally, I really appreciate your capacity to make a synthesis and to have your perception and perspective of what has been presented during our final conference. And I really appreciate it to involve you in this conference. Let's move to the final words. I'm so happy and honored to give the floor to Fabio Dattilo, the Commander-in-Chief of the Italian National Fire Service, for his conclusion. We hope there will be positive conclusion. Dattilo.
Surely conclusions, because just I look this slide, that's a wonderful conclusion of the work of today. As you know, the Belichi project aims to building experience, and this is very important for us. Experience is the hardest kind of a teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson afterward. Oscar Wilde said is, but it pays off too. The Belice project has shown that cooperation is the best and the safest way to build experience effectively. Brilliant teamwork was the key to the success of this project and its protocol implementation, coordinated by the Italian National Fire and Rescue Service, which managed to achieve an international standard to perform initial wide assessment after disaster. Teamwork is also the strength of our fire service. A team of over 30,000 firefighters in Italy who use the same techniques, have the same equipment, have the same basic training throughout our country. I warmly thank every single person who contributed to the project, one by one, and in particular my colleague Giuseppe Romano and his collaborators, Gianluca Del Moro, Gianmario Gnecchi, Ilaria Maraviglia, Antonio Anechini, Massimiliano Russo, Salvatore Cantale, Massimiliano Mori, Fabrizio Gaverini, Luca Cari, Alessandro Fanfani e Alessandro Bollini. But I want also thanks Mr. Domenico Fiorito, Mr. Francesco Giordano, you, Mr. Paolo, from Italian Civil Protection Department, Mr. Philippe Meres, dell'École d'Application de Sécurité Civile, and Mr. Peter Goxeray, I hope this is the right way of the pronunciation, of German Federal Agency of Technical Relief, and obviously Mrs. Paola Milano from Timesys, of Timesys. And my friend that disappeared now, Mr. D'Angelo, maybe called to other work now. The last, my thing is to Mr. Cangelosi, Mayor of Poggioreale in Belice. I know that he now came back home after a serious car crash happened 2 years ago, close to Rome. This project is in line with the European policies aimed to reinforce the Union civil protection mechanism, advocating for comprehensive risk management approach and the standard training system among all member states. The unprecedented experience of COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated that Union effectiveness in managing a crisis requires making the best use of experience gained so far, and Belice project can be seen as a starting point for devising methodology for building experience, valid for all types of disaster involving other experts besides user teams. In this context, let me recall the CBRN team of Italian firefighters deployed together with user teams from other member states that managed to assess the situation after the Beirut blast, which is a relevant example of a multi-hazard approach to emergencies. In fact, I want to inform you that our standard of operation already includes this way of building experience described in the Belice project, and not only. To conclude, let me thank all project members once again for this valuable contribution to the improvement of Union civil protection mechanism. And I would like to propose my idea for the future. We can develop all together a network of schools in Europe which should place a red thread through integrated training courses of civil protection operators of all member states. A network, because a good school is the first and the fundamental step for complete integration. I want to give you I wanted that you have a good Easter. After this last passion, I hope everybody comes back to life and we will meet again in person. And now I want to introduce, I hope that is now linked with us. And I am pleased to give the floor to the head of our department, Prefetta Laura Lega. I don't know, Laura. Maybe it's too early. Do we have some question?
Yes, perhaps. Sorry. Yes, perhaps we can ask for some questions if someone for you needs to intervene while we are attending for Laura Lega.
Yes, I wait some question or the discussion.
Yes, of course.
I can wait for the question, so we can open a discussion as about the day. What's about the day we have treated today? Non c'è.
Paola, I think that it's good to resume the materials that are already on the site of the project, please. And I ask if it's possible. I think yes, but I think that it's better to say it. That the picture of a coin, the picture of the coin, we are ready on the site, isn't it?
Yes, of course, all the materials, considering that unfortunately for COVID, this is a webinar, we are going in any case to upload some material related to the conference. I mean, of course, the material from Cohen and also some screenshot from the conference, perhaps also some synthesis and something more. But all the material, how told before, manual, handbook, videos, all have been uploaded yesterday evening. So what you have seen now will be available. We will upload some also the PowerPoint that you have seen today in order to have some other updates and information if needed. And screenshot and of course the material of the visual illustrator.
Yes, but I think that is necessary. It's better to explain that we have also in the materials that the plugin that is possible to download from the site and use in the proper computer to try to build a faster, wider assessment using only apre. Wider assessment using only the data that are already in the net, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Also, the plugin will be uploaded in the Belice website. At present, is only the tutorial related to the plugin. So a complete tutorial on how to analyze the information coming from what is available in net free for everybody. But of course, we have also prepared a plugin in order to be used to everyone is interested to it. And we are going to upload it together by the end of the month, together with the desktop application of the virtual reality, because at the moment there is only the demo that we have seen in this morning, introduced by Paolo Vaccari. So just two more tools are going to be uploaded by the end of the month. That will be the plugin tool and the virtual reality for desktop. All the other all the other videos and documents that have been presented today, I'm making reference most of all to the manual and to the handbook, are already on the website and are downloadable for your.
Excuse me, Paola. I had Mrs. Lega, Prefetto Lega. She can speak from my mobile, and you can listen to her. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So I leave her the floor. Thank you.
Ti diamo la parola.
Buongiorno a tutti, ci tenevo a fare un saluto conclusivo in questa giornata che conclude un progetto estremamente importante, questo del Belice. Voglio fare un saluto trasversale a tutti, so che siamo collegati con oltre 20 paesi, con oltre 130 partecipanti, ringrazio ovviamente le componenti francese, tedesca e il nostro Dipartimento della Protezione Civile. È un'operazione estremamente significativa. Credo che in questo momento una gestione dell'emergenza approcciata in questo modo ci aiuti veramente a fare un salto di qualità enorme come metodo di lavoro, garantendo proprio la capacità, no, di interagire e di poter essere poi pronti accanto alle autorità locali, agli operatori del soccorso, a chi gestisce l'emergenza, garantendo quella formazione che sarà essenziale. Un metodo di lavoro vincente che credo insomma potrà essere anche in qualche modo uno schema sul quale lavorare in proseguio. Belice, fatemelo dire, non conclude un percorso, ma addirittura forse lo apre, no? Chiude un progetto che si riallaccia a progettualità anche degli anni scorsi, ma apre una collaborazione estremamente importante. Per cui veramente grazie davvero a tutti.
Okay, Paola, you can translate something, the summary.
Yes, thank you very much. I just will try to make a synthesis of what has been just told. Once again, it has been underlined the importance of the first analysis and of first information coming from the territory that has been caused by an event and by an earthquake. So once again, the important to have as much more information as possible, and most of all, how is possible to be prepared before the event in order to have this information already available. And she also underlined that this project, even if this is the closing activity, can be seen, of course, like something that starts, because all this information that are being collected and the methodologies and the tools that are described in the manual and in the handbook, of course, will be delivered and will be a starting point in order to be used, to be as much prepared as possible, between local authorities, rescuers, first responders, then can be the first persons that have to react to the emergency. Okay?
Okay.
So I think that we can have the closing of this final conference. And I leave the floor to the project leader in order to say hello to the people, goodbye to the people who have participated to the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paola. Thank you very much, Paolo. Thank you very much to Civil Protection Department for the organization of this final conference. Being the boss of being the project leader of this project was an honor for me. I'm very proud of all the collaborators, all the people that participated through the TOT courses. Thank you to these people, to the people that are participating in this final conference. Thank you to all. My hope is to meet as soon as possible all of you, or a big part of you. Why not in Poggioreale for a real training activity, and to see you in the next future using the virtual reality made by the project in preparation of the real training activities in the field. So thank you to all. Thank you to all the people that worked with me, many thanks, a big thanks to you, and thanks to participating to the final conference again. See you soon. Bye. Bye, people. Bye.